White House is now giving their hot take on the recent Spotify controversy with Joe Rogan. Press Secretary Jen Psaki said that Spotify's new disclaimer is a positive step forward, but that there is more that can be done. The ongoing controversy surrounding the Joe Rogan Experience podcast and streaming platform Spotify has caused quite the stir online, although many thought that this drama would only unfold on Twitter. However, during the daily press briefing on Tuesday, President Joe Biden's top spokeswoman was asked by Politico's Max Tanny about Spotify's move to add in content advisories for certain podcast episodes that discuss COVID-19 and related issues such as vaccines. In response, Jen Psaki goes on to say, "Our hope is that all major tech platforms and all major news sources for that matter be responsible and be vigilant to ensure the American people have access to accurate information on something as significant as COVID-19. That certainly includes Spotify. So this disclaimer, it's a positive step, but we want every platform to continue doing more to call out misinformation while also uplifting accurate information." Spotify announced that they would be changing this part of their platform after receiving immense pressure from liberal media outlets as well as medical professionals that urged them to take action against misinformation being sparked by Joe Rogan's podcast. Spotify CEO Daniel Ek even tweeted, "There's been a lot of conversation about information regarding COVID-19 on Spotify. We've heard the criticism and we're implementing changes to help combat misinformation." As I mentioned, this came after a group of professors, scientists, and medical professionals signed an open letter asking Spotify to take action against mass misinformation events on its platform after Joe's podcast with Dr. Robert Malone angered them. Although upon a closer look at this list of medical professionals, it turned out that most signatories were either not direct medical providers or they were not legally permitted to practice medicine on their own. Almost 100 of them held PhD degrees but didn't regularly practice, and only 87 were medical doctors or doctors of osteopathic medicine. There were a number of nurses, veterinarians, and a dentist on the list, which was advertised as being top scientists in the field of medicine. Psychologists, physician's assistants, medical students, an engineer, and a podcast host also made the list, begging for Spotify to cancel Joe Rogan. In part of his 10-minute response to the situation, Joe said, "I do not know if they're right. I don't know because I'm not a doctor. I'm not a scientist. I'm just a person who sits down and talks to people and has conversations with them. Do I get things wrong? Absolutely. I get things wrong, but I try to correct them because I'm interested in telling the truth. I'm interested in finding out what the truth is." This response was necessary for him after he received an immense amount of backlash for having American cardiologist Dr. Peter McCullough and American virologist and immunologist Dr. Robert Malone on the show. Although many people wanted to hear a response from Rogan because of people like Neil Young and Joni Mitchell deciding to leave the platform out of some type of protest against Joe's podcast. This Spotify controversy started when Neil Young posted to his blog about how much he didn't want to be on the same platform as Joe Rogan. In the post, he writes, "With an estimated 11 million listeners per episode, JRE, which is hosted exclusively on Spotify, is the world's largest podcast and has tremendous influence. Spotify has a responsibility to mitigate the spread of misinformation on its platform, though the company presently has no misinformation policy. I want you to let Spotify know immediately today that I want all my music off their platform. They can have Rogan or Young, not both. I am doing this because Spotify is spreading fake information about vaccines, potentially causing death to those who believe the disinformation being spread by them. Please act on this immediately today and keep me informed of the time schedule." Then 2 days after this letter was published, Spotify notified the press of their intention to delete Neil Young's music from their platform. At the same press conference where Jen Psaki spoke about Spotify's decision to put disclaimers on podcasts, she also denounced the recent banning of controversial books at public schools. She goes on to say, "I have not discussed this with the president, but I can tell you as an administration, we believe in the freedom of speech and expression. And certainly we have never been advocates of preventing people from understanding and reading history." I'd love to hear your thoughts on all of this though, because that's all the time that we have for today. So stay classy, and I'll see you in the next one.